Welcome to the podcast of School Beyond Limitations. In this podcast, you will learn how to guide your child through their school life with the intention to help them find their unique essence that will allow your daughter, your son to live a fulfilled and meaningful life. Well, today I'm extremely happy and delighted to have two guests with me. And it's basically a former student, an alumni, Lucy, and her mother, Sandra, who is actually also a part of SPL, not just as a family, but she has started working with us a number of years back, and I just thought it's great for us to have a conversation about SPL, especially because Lucy, now you see it from a distance, and Sandra, you see it from not only a distance, and so welcome to this conversation.
Thank you. Hello.
I wanted to ask the two of you, maybe I ask you first, Sandra, what made you decide to enroll Lucy at SPL? Because that's been 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that?
5 years ago.
Yeah. What was the reason for you? Because Lucy was a very good, and still is, of course, a great student, and there were no problems whatsoever. And what was the reason for you as parents? And then I would pass on to Lucy.
Okay, so Lucy was always was a very good student at school, but during COVID, some things came onto the surface which were covered many years before, and then you saw that your purpose of learning wasn't really fulfilled in the traditional school. And when you saw that even online learning didn't work at all, when children were not allowed to go to school anymore, and then we saw that Lucy could be even better by going in a self-directed way, and then we were looking for another option. And then we came across to SPL and found out that it's really good. Even though in the beginning, many people from the family,
extended family, friends.
They really told us, "Wow, what are you doing? Your daughter's future is at risk, and do you really want to take her out of a system she already knows?" But then we just decided, no, we want to try other ways, because we discovered there is more than traditional schooling.
Sandra, yeah, you were mentioning about, the risk that other people saw in you taking Lucy out. Lucy, now I think this is the great possibility now for you to say what was at risk and where are you at now? Do you still feel it was a risky decision, or are you now looking backwards actually grateful for that decision that was made by your parents and by yourself, of course, as well, because your parents always listen to your voice too.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely been some challenges when going out of the traditional system, and then I'm now at university, so I'm kind of back in that traditional system, and the transformation from going out of the traditional system and then coming back in. Of course, there were some challenges, for example, with getting my A-levels recognized by the German state. And then, of course, there were some difficulties with the whole uni application thing. Maybe also because I wanted to study psychology, so that's more difficult to get into in Germany, so that was also part of it. But also having an international curriculum, and then having the international A-levels, and just something that the people working at the universities haven't seen a lot, so they don't know what the protocol is, how they handle that kind of thing. So there was a lot more thought going into it, a lot more kind of research that I had to do that I maybe wouldn't have had to do if I had gone to the traditional system. But I think in the end, I'm now in Salzburg, Austria, which I'm really happy about. And I think that's like something that wouldn't have crossed my mind maybe if things would have been different. But there's a lot of what ifs, so we never know. But yeah, I think all those challenges also kind of brought me a bit further. Just like, seeing I can overcome all those kind of like little stones in my way and kind of, work my way through them. And there's always like some way that everything works out. So yeah.
Yeah, that's certainly something that we encourage our students to do, to see beyond the surface, to go beyond the limitations, because otherwise we stay always in the same system and we start becoming passive, passive consumers of what is expected from us. If you were to look at yourself, you are studying now psychology and, you are doing really well in that, which is wonderful. So compliments for that. If you look back at what have been the elements or were the elements and criteria that you learned through the non-traditional system within SPL, that you can say, yes, I faced challenges, but there is something else that I took away from my experience by having been courageous enough, like your parents as well, to take this risk.
Yeah, I think just the opportunity to kind of explore more of what you actually want to do. You're used to always being like, okay, these are the subjects that you're going to take this year and this is what you're going to learn and that's it. And then suddenly you're just like dropped into this new like phase where you're just like, okay, you can do like literally whatever you want, kind of. And you kind of have to start figuring out, okay, what is it that kind of like I'm interested in? And then that kind of really, I got to develop those kind of interests during the 3 years that I was with SPL, just kind of like, figuring out, okay, so these are things that I definitely don't like, these are things that I'm kind of interested in, and then you kind of like get the ball rolling, I guess. And just kind of, you have the freedom to explore those kind of things. And then with the subjects for the IGCSEs and A levels that I did, you're a lot more free to choose the subjects, and you kind of get the idea of whether you're interested in it while studying it. And I mean, you could still, if while being like halfway through the book studying, you're like, okay, this is actually really boring, you could still switch it up, which I didn't have to do. I was really lucky that I like knew I made the right decisions. But I was just you just get the opportunity to explore more of like what you're interested in, and not just like the interest, but also like what I've noticed now that I'm at university. I think that it took me a lot less time than like some of my friends to kind of figure out the way that I like study best, because you kind of need to do a lot on you get a lot of support from the facilitators, of course. Not saying you're like on your own, but it's just like a lot of, you need to figure out your study plans, like time management wise. And for me it was just like I was one of the first people to do psychology, so while the facilitators did everything they could to help me, they just weren't like fully able to like help me with everything, like, because they weren't that deep into the topic. Of course they can't be with like every single subject. So you kind of need to figure out what way you study best. So I did a lot of flashcards, but that's just not like what works for everyone. But I think the whole getting to figure out how to study best and how I can do it for myself, and time management and everything that comes with that, helped me a lot with like my first exam seasons in university now.
So it was a kind of self-discovery journey, if I'm listening to you, right? Self-discovery journey where you also say, even if the facilitators, as we call them, didn't know all the little details, which is of course understandable, but it was more a kind of journey together, so that they underwent the journey together with you. Is that what you are saying?
You do have to mention, I started SPL when it was still fairly new. So of course the facilitators learned a lot in the time that passed. Of course they all still had to figure out things and how they worked. So that's definitely also
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, we have developed,
Yeah.
of course, over time. And yet, I think what comes across here, Lucy, I'm actually grateful for this reflection because it means even if we do not know all the little details, it's very important to have somebody at your side who actually just accompanies you through that and maybe learns together with you, and just is there. And that takes me to your mom again, to Sandra. Sandra, if you look at your daughter, or if you look at the journey that your daughter has gone through over the years, also while being at SPL, from a parental point of view, what have you noticed? What have you discovered during this journey?
Yeah, I think Lucy immensely grew in self-confidence and in the way how she is dealing with emotions, the approach, how to learn to go into the self-directed learning way. And I'm a firm believer that if Lucy had been in the traditional system, she wouldn't have been able to cope with challenges that well, because she would have never learned how to get along on her own. In the traditional system, you are always being told how to do that, and if you don't stick to the plan, then you are being kicked out, or you face challenges. And here before that, you always get support, and that's a very important point. When I look at Lucy now, and I'm very proud of her, and I'm really happy to see how she's enjoying her life now, and I'm completely convinced that it wouldn't be the way like it is now without having experienced all the 3 years with SPL.
Yeah, and you mentioned, both of you, the challenges, right? And I think this is one core principle also of SPL, that we say, let's look at failures, at challenges as a possibility for growth. That we don't give just the right answer, but that we say, okay, this is it. What can we do? Solution orientation. And I would like also to emphasize, the aspect that Lucy, yourself, you have already been part of, the broader community after having become an alumni. You advise students about studies in psychology, coming from SPL. You were at Italian Home also. If you look at what you've seen, for instance, at Italian Home, as a let's say more from a distance, because you haven't been completely involved, but you were there and still you saw what's going on. What are the features that you think are really SPL like and help students, because this is our aim, help students finding their own essence, right? The self-discovery, who they are. What have you noticed and observed?
The first word, like literally just one single word that came to my mind, was like connection. Because like of course you need to kind of figure out what you want by yourself, because it's like no one can tell you what you want from your life. You have to figure that out by yourself. But it helps immensely to have people you can talk about that with, because I feel like when you talk about it, there's a lot going on in your mind. You think more about it, so you kind of tend to, at least for myself, that's what I've noticed. Like when I talk about it, I figure a lot of stuff out for myself as well. And I think that's what I noticed also between the different ages, also just like the connection that like everyone had when I was in Italy. And it was really nice. And then also, having the support to know you can you have someone you can fall back on, even if you fail or you face challenges. That's just all part of like the journey, and you have people that will help you back up and kind of figure things out along the way. And I think that's a huge part of SBL, definitely.
And you mentioned something about, voicing things and getting clarity in your mind. And what we at SPL even think, it's not just the clarity within the mind, it's something that happens within them. When the mind is clear, then something gets recognized within with what is already there. And I wanted to ask now your mom, Sandra, because she's working at SPL every day now, and as a boarding parent also, what this connection between, clarity in the mind and clarity from within, what do you notice there?
Yeah, you see, when you're if you're clear in your mind, and then it comes from within, and then it transfers this emotion, this feeling to the world around you, and then it's much easier to get along within the society, to get along with the group you are in at the moment, and yeah, there develops an even closer connection with the people. And yeah, that's what my experiences during the weeks I have already been in the Italy home are. And yeah, you just transfer the clarity
Yeah.
to the world around you, to the small world, and maybe sometime to the bigger world.
And what you were saying about connection, and this connection leads to something that is at the core of everything, and that's, I think, trust. Trust in oneself and trust in your respective other person. Lucy, you were the one introducing the word connection, and I'm also a firm believer relationship and the connect and the bonding that you have with people, makes the big difference at the end of the day. How would you describe the connection that you used to have with your facilitators, with the peer group, with the people around you, with like-minded people? How would you describe that connection? And has that stayed there, although you are not a steady member of SPL anymore?
Yeah, I think it's just like this special connection of my mom talked earlier about how people from like extended family and friends were kind of concerned or just didn't kind of get what we were doing. And I feel like that's completely understandable because it's just like something new, it's a change, and people always are kind of like afraid of change. And I mean, I was as well, so not saying that we're like kind of special because we did it, but we kind of like went in spite of like all the worries and everything. And kind of like the connection with like my friends that I got from SBL kind of came through that a little bit. I think that we kind of just got each other with like the whole being out of the traditional system and maybe the outside opinions that came with that, and also just like the differences in like your everyday life that you had, and you kind of like connected a little bit through that, and then you noticed other similarities. I met some of my best friends through SBL. We're going to meet up end of August again, so really excited for that. And then also with the facilitators, it's just like this very special bond, especially with the facilitator I had my first year, Kiki. I had her for 2 years, and then we met when I went to Italy with my mom, and she was there as a facilitator, and it was just like such a special moment because we tried staying in touch a little bit, also with my other facilitators. We exchanged some voice messages when I started university. They wanted to know what's going on in my life and everything. So I feel like that's really special, something that like continues way past the school. And just like you've become so close to those people, especially when you also had them in mentoring, and you just like me and Kiki used to talk like a lot during those mentoring sessions, and just I feel like we really developed a special bond there. So I was just like so happy to see her again. Yeah.
That's beautiful to hear. And I really believe, that stays for a lifetime, because
Yeah.
very oftentimes people say, how can you create a relationship, a connection with a person that you
Yeah.
only meet online? First and foremost, we
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
just meet online, right?
I hadn't seen Kiki in like, I think 2 or 3 years, because she hasn't been to the last residentials that I went to, because time-wise, and I think she was sick once and everything, so it was kind of difficult. But then we met again in Italy, and it was just like
It was
no
yesterday.
time passed. Like we got off the train, I had this massive group hug, and it was so sweet. It was just like such a wholesome moment, and it actually felt like, I don't know, it was like 2 days ago that I saw her last or spoke to her last, where it really was like years, but it was still just like so nice.
That's beautiful. And what you are describing here, I think, really lays the foundation then also for life, because it gives
Yeah.
you kind of also security, right? There are
Yeah.
people there who are really interested in me. You are studying psychology, and I think the main thing for a human being is that they are seen, that they are noticed. We are social beings, and maybe we are shortly coming to an end. I just wanted to get back to the aspect of being courageous with a disruptive solution, because we need to be courageous if we want to change something. Sandra, the question to you: do you regret that you actually took this decision? And at the time we were new, as Lucy said, very new. I mean, it was our second or third, I think second year, if I'm not mistaken, that you, second official year. And of course we were new, and it was really a kind of, a very huge challenge for you to say yes. So would you say you regret it, or although all your people around you said, "What are you doing here?"
No, I don't regret it at all. And now looking back, we all, the whole family, we can be so proud of us that we took this step. And last week, a friend of mine told me, "Wow, it's really amazing what your daughter experienced." And because her daughter stayed in the traditional system, and she is, yeah, we don't want to compare each other. That's not the thing. But just to give you an idea of how differently the two young girls developed. Yeah, and it was also a great learning for me. I remember once Lucy told me, "Mom, you need to unlearn as well, because we don't look at grades anymore." And that was a wonderful learning for me.
That's beautiful. And Lucy, the word unlearning is an important word, right? Because we are constantly learning. And if we are not ready to unlearn, we will not learn something new, for instance,
Yeah.
right? So if you were to come across, people who are kind of interested in what an alternative looks like SPL, what would you say to those people so that SPL experience can be a success? Because it is a success in certain ways. I think it's always a success if certain elements and criteria come together. What, from your perspective, and then maybe Sandra, from your perspective, what from your perspective, Lucy, are the criteria that need to match so that it is a success for a student who is looking for something else?
Yeah. I think the looking for something else is already like a very good start. You need to be open to kind of make some changes, be open to, be aware of like there will be changes. You will like think a lot about yourself, I think, as well. Be open to that. And just, embrace the whole SPL experience and kind of, yeah, just go with the flow, I guess. That was like an insider in my first year in SPL, so that's like, I don't know why I thought of that, but that was funny. So it was just funny for me. So I'm laughing in my head. You're not laughing, but that's okay. But yeah, just like it is important to kind of have that little bit of self-management, that you kind of, that time management thing. If you want to do exams, that's something that's kind of important, because while the facilitators try everything they can to support you, there's a lot that has to come from yourself, like from within you. You know, I think that should be a criteria, but in general, just be open for like everything, I guess.
Yeah. And you know what, Lucy, I think one thing that you mentioned, not specifically, but through between the lines, is go, be present and engage, right? And contribute and participate. Because if you do not, if you do
You really
not,
need to
then
embrace it.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. You use the word embrace. That's a nice word. Exactly. Embrace the experience and go with the experience. Thank you, Lucy. And what about you, Sandra? What would you say are the essentials?
I think one of the most important things is working together. The parents, the students, and SBL. And if everybody is aiming to the same goal, aiming for the same outcome, then it works.
Mm-hmm.
And if you trust in what your child is doing, if you trust in what the mentors are supporting your child with, and also the parents are aware of it's a completely different way of learning, but know that's the way which it's the way the human beings are supposed to learn
Yeah.
from their inner curiosity.
Yeah, it's about that. Exactly. And it's co-creation, it's co-construction, right? And if we do it together, and this is what we are looking for in today's society more than ever, right? That we work as a team and that we actually bring all the different voices into a nice, big, beautiful picture so that we can create something beautiful. Well, I would like to thank you for your input, for this conversation. Maybe at the very end, 3 words that come to mind by thinking of SPL. Lucy, would you like to start? 3 words that come as they come from within.
I think I'm gonna go with one I've already mentioned a lot: connection, support, and mindfulness. Because like it's an important concept at SBL, but it's also something that I think we all try to be a lot when we talk to each other and everything. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Lucy. And what about you, Sandra?
It's a bit similar to Lucy's choice, but I would say trust, because it was a big step for us to trust. Then I would say relationship connections. That's what I also see every day with the parents I'm supporting, and what I can see when Lucy is talking about her friends, her friend group. She's still connected with them. Third word is I would say joy, because it's to find joy again in how to learn and what to learn.
Oh, that's beautiful. I don't have anything to add to that, because I think everything you said, connection, mindfulness, joy, and going deeper, open-mindedness and reflection and stuff like that, that's all part of what SPL is. And I think it's part of what life is. So thank you so much, Sandra and Lucy, for your time. And it's the end of a school year and the start of a holidays also for you. So I wish you a nice holiday and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
At School Beyond Limitations, we support our students find their unique essence. Feel free to share the content of this podcast with other parents. We are here to show that your children can, indeed, bring their unique essence into life. So, reach out to us if you think that this is what you'd like your daughter, your son to experience, or apply through our website. Also, leave your comments, your questions, or your review about the podcast. Share it with others. And as you know, sharing is caring.